I watch a lot of YouTube videos, and I like to watch YouTube videos about things that I'm genuinely interested in or involved in real life. I've done a lot of work in things like accounting and psychology and helping with suicide prevention, all that kind of stuff. And so because of volunteering slash working in these kinds of things, I like watching videos about psychology, motivational videos, about finances, and even accounting. It's interesting to me how much bad information there is compared to good information. A lot of people attempt to sound like an expert by throwing a bunch of jargon in there that makes it sound more official, and they're doing that trying to up their game. They explain things slightly off, and when you explain things slightly off, it just shows that you're expressing it to the best of your own ability to understand it. If you listen to an expert talk about something and try to repeat what that expert said, you're not going to be able to say it as accurately. And so you're going to express it to the level that you personally can understand it. I try really hard to avoid jargon because I think about myself in the past and what I would have been able to understand when I was younger and less aware of things. And I was pretty ignorant about a lot of things as I was growing up, and I had to, as an adult, relearn everything basically because of the way I grew up. And as an adult, listen to real experts and try to understand and learn from people who knew what they were actually talking about, because there are a lot of people who talk about stuff and they just get popular, but they're not necessarily respected in that field or even have any kind of credentials in that field. I, for instance, am not a financial advisor. I don't claim to be a financial advisor, but I do give some financial advice because of my experience with accounting. And that doesn't make me a financial advisor, but it does mean I have more insight into finances than maybe some random person. Now, I try to be really honest about it, and I also try to keep jargon low. Instead of saying ROI, I actually say return on investment. Even though I know what ROI is, I assume that the person watching this video, maybe they do, maybe they don't. And so I try to avoid acronyms, slang, jargon, all of it. I try to speak in layman's terms because I feel like that's what would have helped me when I was first learning about things. And the goal is to help people, for me personally. I feel like the goal for a lot of YouTubers is just to min-max their video watches. And min-maxing means the minimum amount of effort for the maximum amount of result. It's a video gaming term originally for having to put in the minimum amount of hours, like say trying to level up or do some sort of in-game grinding to get the maximum likelihood of achieving a good amount of success. And it's not helpful for people watching videos who have terminologies that have real definitions just get watered down and thrown around randomly. It really bothers me when people do that, not just because I like for things to have a clear definition, but also because it makes it less educational, and it just proves their lack of expertise. And they're spreading that lack of expertise instead of genuinely spreading real, solid, good knowledge and information. I have some knowledge on finances, but I'm not a financial advisor. Meanwhile, a lot of the people I see giving advice on finances, especially on like YouTube, TikTok, whatever, it's people who are entrepreneurs or people who want to give off the air of being an entrepreneur, but they haven't actually achieved either real success or else they got insanely lucky. And their success was not based on actual economics, their success was based on right time, right place. Congrats. And I don't begrudge them that they got rich quickly or got lucky. That's awesome. Congratulations to them. I wish it happened to more people, in a way. But in a way, it's frustrating because they act like since that happened to them, they've got this inflated ego now that they think they know the secret or the insider trick to, you could also do this. And it's not actually a very replicable situation. They sell it with this confidence that's not necessarily warranted. I see so much on even like Reddit about, oh, go into calls and puts and futures and be a day trader, and this like addiction almost to it, this excitement about it. And it's worrisome to me because the majority of day traders, like 85% of day traders, would have made more money in the long run if they would have just done the boring thing of putting money into a simple, portfolio index fund, pick a couple of ETFs, leave it there based on, the whole money market or else S&P 500, and just leave stuff there and just do, buying a little bit of it each month over time. And it makes it so that your money invested evens out, but your returns and your losses also even out, and you end up with an average amount of money that is a pretty decent percent. And it's a better percent than almost all day traders. But because people want to be that 15% of lucky ones, they end up squandering their life savings and they throw themselves into it. And it's frustrating to watch people encourage other people to do that. There is a huge difference between responsible gaining of wealth by doing something that maybe seems a little boring versus leaping into something, and that leap being a pure leap of hope and desperation. And will it work? Who knows? You just do it. And sometimes in life we have those moments where we need to just do it. But they're not supposed to be like all the time. You're not supposed to try to create a career out of, well, hope it works out. Like, the majority of people won't succeed at day trading, just like the majority of Etsy stores don't work out, or Shopify, or even YouTube channels. The majority don't work out. So you have to be doing it for a reason other than, I want to become a big success. The thing is these maybe can get rich quick schemes, they're very congested and they're very high risk. And part of the risk is just people's feelings change. Fads happen. Trends change very rapidly, sometimes even seasonally. And so, say someone has a product that they invented and it goes viral. And so for the first, say 6 months of having this item that they invented, they can't hardly keep up with the orders. And so they finally find someone who can make like 2 million of their product for them because they want to stay ahead of the orders. But right when they get that stock in, around the 6-month mark, the trend starts changing and they're not as popular anymore. And now they have all this inventory that they've spent so much money on manufacturing, but they can't actually sell it because the trend is over. The fad is done. And people bought like crazy during the frenzy, and then the frenzy's over and now they're moved on to some other product. And the person who thought that they had won it big, in actuality, with just a little time, is proven to have not won it big in actuality. They just got super lucky. And so the majority of the time, even if you have initial success, you can end up failing. But the majority of the time, you don't even get initial success. It just sort of fizzles out and you give up on it. Market changes happen, and patience and consistency is the answer to those fluctuations. But patience is not a very popular suggestion. It's the kind of advice that gets kind of dismissed, and the advice that people get excited about is the flashy, risky advice. And so people go to emulate that because it's more exciting and interesting. I feel like the reason people get into some of their financial trouble is the system's broken. And there's absolutely truth to that. But I also feel like some financial trouble comes from misleading information and from not wanting to do the boring or slow thing. When people think about someone who's an accountant, for instance, what do you imagine? A hunched over person at their desk, typing away on spreadsheets, and it seems super boring and tedious, and that correlation makes finances feel overwhelming and daunting, and it seems more fun or more exciting to do the gamble. But if you can think of accounting more as this really structured routine thing, and it's comfortable, it's okay, it's cozy. You know, I do some of my stuff like in pajamas. Think of it not as the horrible cubicle person sitting there just hunched over, and try to think of it as the person who gets to do a comfy, cozy job, because that's how money should make you feel, is comfortable and safe and secure. If money is making you feel riled up, that's not a good thing. An emotional rise, whether it's a negative one or a positive one, often means things are not in balance. And when it comes to your finances and your budget, having a good balance is so crucial. Kudos to people who do it their own right way, and they manage to get rich quick, and they manage to be able to lead a flashy lifestyle and buy nice things for themselves. I don't begrudge anyone that at all. If they can afford to do it and still have a good budget and still be able to retire, hey, awesome. Congrats to them. But they didn't start out that way. And so many people seem to jump to the conclusion of, that's what I want to be like, and they don't think about all the work and the years it can take to get to that. And it's okay to start small, and it's okay to start with just some consistency, with just doing a routine. You can even set that routine to be automatic, and it'll just kind of routinely happen for you. And that's okay. And a couple decades later, oh, hey, look, I can buy some flashy things now. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that either, but it doesn't seem as interesting. But it is the way the majority of the wealthy get wealthy. It's the way the majority of corporations and companies manage to get to the growth that they are aiming for. Is they either grow really big really fast and get bought out, and then oh well, or else they have this steady growth. And because they have steady growth, they get to the point where they're buying other competition and they're buying other companies because they can afford to. Which one do you want to be? The one that can acquire assets, or the one that has to sell everything off and then live off of the rest of that and manage that? Do you have the skills to manage that if you got rich quick? Did you use any actual money management skills to even get rich? Well, then how do you think you're going to hold on to the wealth? Your money should not be like playing Russian roulette. So if you hear someone and they're saying things that seem maybe kind of exciting, think for a second, but how true is this? Just anything in life. It doesn't even have to be about finances. If you hear someone saying something and it's like really exciting and they're so confident about it, but it sounds like maybe too good to be true or slightly off, take it with a grain of salt. Think about it a little bit before you go diving in, so that you don't have to deal with the repercussions if they didn't know what they were saying. Usually, in my personal experience, people who are an expert in a thing, maybe they're a little dry, but it's because they're thorough and they know the definitions of what they're saying, and they're not just throwing words at things. They're not just trying to get views. They've studied a thing long enough and hard enough that they know that they're decently knowledgeable about it, but also that the subject matter is so vast that they will never actually know everything about it. And that creates a real sense of pride tied together with humility. And it's a very strong sense of feeling insignificant while feeling like you have something to offer. Listen to those people. Please. Just take stuff that some channels say with a grain of salt. And please know that I don't want to discourage you from being one of the lucky ones. I just want to protect you from being one of the very many unlucky ones.